My name's Adam Manaka and I'm the Financial Controller for Hi-Tech Oils. With our national capacity, we can now service Australian companies nationwide. Of late, we have now expanded into the New Zealand market. Here at Hi-Tech Oils, we receive premium base oils and premium additive packs. Together, with our highly trained staff, we manufacture over 500 premium quality products. Hi-Tech Oils is Australian made and Australian owned.
The Confederation of Australian Motorsport is the governing body for all kinds of categories. Just a stone's throw from the Shannons Nationals this weekend, the Australian Motorcana Championship is happening at Quakers Hill. Can I dive in here, boys? Sorry about this. Andrew Collier, nice to catch up with you. You've won the title on a number of occasions, and it's great this, isn't it? Because youngsters can come and play. And
well, the idea of the sport is to get people from the age of 12 having a lash. My daughter still drives this car. She's 31. She's been doing it since she was 12. It's made her a much better driver on the road, which is what we're trying to get across to everybody. It's a great sport for everybody, not just special drivers. You can bring your sedan and have a play. It's whatever you like. It's really good.
So we're at the Narimba campus in Western Sydney. So typically during the week, it's an education precinct for the Western Sydney Institute, but we turn this car park into an active motorsport space, don't we?
We do. Tomorrow it's going to be all go. There's going to be 4 tests or 3 tests at a time set up. And in the end, we're going to go through 12 tests. It's going to be whoever can do those tests pinpoint accurate without making a mistake. Remember, one flag is 5 seconds, so that will blow your day. At the end of the day, there's probably going to be a couple of seconds between first, second and third, so you can't afford to make any mistakes.
Looking forward to this, the Australian Prototype Series, presented by Hot Wheels. It's the penultimate round of the championship, 1 to go after this down at Phillip Island, but we've had 1 race yesterday. This is an 18-lap affair, Greg Rust. Should be an interesting one.
Bit of news out of yesterday too. First win of the season for one particular driver.
Yeah, for the defending champion, in fact, for Mark Lauke to celebrate. He's got himself on the front cover of the Sunday Mail in Adelaide today. For Lauke, as you do. Not strictly related to his motor racing activities, but to Lauke Flour Mills, which is a great South Aussie business that he heads up. This race is a rolling start. This is how they line up. It is Lauke on pole. This is how they finished the race yesterday. Jason Macris second, the championship leader. John Paul Drake and Peter Padden in the Radical from third. It's all Radicals from here on in. Carmelo Bonaventura will go from 6th. Stephen Champion and Tony Haggard will be ones to watch from 9th and 10th. And amongst them, Chris Sutton and Phil Hughes, who's a regular in the championship. Field set for a rolling start. Mark Lauke in the middle of the field. The green and black car is Jason Macris, the championship leader. Gee, it's a messy rolling start, but JP Drake looking down the inside. The gold and black Wolf GBO8 gets a whole shot down the inside and wheel to wheel with Lauke. Macris sweeps across in front. Lauke second, Peter Padden going the long way round at turn 1 in the Radical. There's 3 different cars in the top 3 as they go to turn 2.
Great stuff from Padden on cold tyres through turn 1, and he got a yield from that, didn't he?
Yeah, he really did. Garth Walden, who's running this car, said we're really excited about this 18-lap race. We think the Radical's better over a longer distance. So watch for the Sydney sider to come on strong in car number 31 as this race evolves. But it's the championship leader, Jason Macris, in the Wolf GB08 CN prototype, who leads the field. The defending champion second, Padden third, John Paul Drake in 4th place. Great start. Phil Hughes 8th to 5th on the opening lap, and pretty bold around the outside of turn 1 on cold Kumho tyres.
You'll notice at the front some differences in the beautiful, sleek designs of these machines. There are different chassis, and the Wolf's a real eye-catcher, isn't it?
Yeah, they are, and they're a proper international-style prototype that race at a very high level. This is the first time we've seen them racing in Australian motorsport. 3 cars in the country, 2 running this weekend. We've had Sage Murdoch in the 3rd car for Jam Motorsport this year. He's not here this weekend. We're hoping that car's back out for the final round of the championship. So this is an 18-lap race. There'll be a little bit of conservation involved here, Rusty, managing a race distance. This will be 30 minutes of pretty competitive motorsport here as Padden is under pressure from Drake, who gets a very good run out of the final corner, and a slipstream on the one down into turn 1. Let's see what happens in the braking zone uphill into turn 2.
Nice defensive stuff there from Padden. He takes the the mid-track and makes it very difficult for Drake. Meantime, look at the battle unfolding here. I thought Lauke in that final few corners before they come onto the main straight here at Sydney Motorsport Park looked a little loose. In fact, I think he's having a real dip. He's having a real crack here at trying to get by Macros.
It's been a challenging start to his title defence across the first 3 rounds, Rusty, and it hasn't gone to plan for the South Australian. Really delighted to grab his first win in his title defence yesterday. He's still in the hunt. He can still win this championship with a big weekend here. Needs to take some points out of Jason Macros, who leads the standings. But the series has a points calculation where you drop your 2 worst races at the end of the year. Not a drop your worst round, but 2 races out of the course of the season. Macros has been super consistent. So in a scenario like that, he actually loses out more compared to the guys that have had a DNF or a low score, like Mark Lauke and like JP Drake. That's why the championship is still very much up for grabs.
Just looking at the timing, looks like, is that a 5-second penalty for Drake that's being applied there?
So he jumped the rolling start. I thought he went really early from the second row. He looked like he was out of line as well, and that's why he got down the inside there at turn 1. Lauke tucked up under the big rear wing of the Wolf GBR8 as he goes down into turn 1. The little West WX10 1000cc motorcycle engine. The car weighs 500 kilos, ringing wet. Big Honda power plant in the Wolf that leads the way. It's got more grunt, but it's almost twice the weight of the car behind. So they're vastly different ways of extracting speed out of 2 cars that ultimately do a very similar lap time.
And that's reflected, in fact, in some of the times we're seeing in the various sectors. That's changing now, but Lauke was very quick on that previous lap through Sector 1, Patton quick through Sector 2, and Drake was the fastest through Sector 3.
And then 3 different types of race cars doing it. Yeah, exactly right. And if there's ever a racetrack that's going to expose the strengths and weaknesses of different cars, it's Sydney Motorsport Park, with a combination of a really long straight, some real high speed, high aero corners, and then a couple of slow corners. Wow, off the road, JP Drake at turn 7, that really fast left-hander at Corporate Hill, and you could see him shaking his head that he was able to catch that and keep the car on the road without having A, a big accident, or B, a really high-speed spin.
Let's look here at the replay. We're not quite sure, you know, clearly he may not have been on the ideal line, or perhaps going just a little too hot through that corner.
A little bit wide, perhaps, and just out in the marbles there. Car looked like it had some understeer. It's a big aero corner, so they use all the downforce available to them to commit there.
Patton remains the fastest man, or the man with the quickest lap in this race so far, that 1:31.1764 in third, but it's just dropped off a little relative to Lauke at the moment, and Macros now starting to bolt some good sectors together as our race leader.
He is, and around the outside of turn 4 goes Phil Hughes on JP Drake. That's a big move, and I wonder if Drake's just carrying a little bit of damage to the underfloor, some of the aero componentry on his Wolf, although back down the inside at turn 6, retakes the spot with a brake lock up, runs a little bit wide. That will open the door to Hughes, who's going to have a look at 7 but can't get through. But really struggling at the moment, JP Drake. He's quite a long way off the pace that the leaders have got at the moment, and he's now involved in a pretty heady scrap for 4th and 5th position.
And it continues on.
In fact, it's 6th place as well, because Braco and the Radical has just jumped into the back of this as well. That's car number 80. Nice silver, black and blue livery, one of the Works Radical entries. So he's just jumped into the back of this freight train as well.
This lap from Macros should be a beauty, because he was fastest in Sector 1, personal best in Sectors 2 and 3, and he does a 1:30.655 now. New fastest lap.
Decided that that was the go point. I think put the head down and start building a margin, and probably more importantly, break the toe over Mark Lauke. So he's not open to attack at turn 1 and 2. And just to look at that move again with Hughes and Drake, it's a good bit of racing.
The Radical coming into its own through turns 8 and 9 and really closing up on the back of Lauke. And Macros has now a 2.3 second lead. He's got a little bit of breathing space over these two.
Yeah, I get the feeling Lauke used a lot of his car in the opening laps trying to stay with Macros. Cooked the tyres, used them up a little bit too early. And he's paying for that now as Macros starts to build a margin out in front. 2.4 seconds last time by. And that just opens the door for Peter Padden. The problem is the Radical is probably 10 k's an hour slower in a straight line compared to the Little West WX10. So the key overtaking opportunity at turn 2 at this venue is going to be really tough for Peter Padden. He's going to have to commit at turn 9 at the hairpin and then just hope he can pull a margin so that Lauki doesn't get past again.
Lauki responds, quickest in the first sector. He's gone purple through there as we continue to watch this battle a little bit further back. So Hughes and Medlin, 32. Lock break, that was from our race leader, I think Macris, was it?
Yeah, he's pushing so hard, Rusty, to try and build this margin. And he's torched that inside front Kumo a couple of times in a row. Macris was an interesting race for Jason yesterday. Actually had an oil leak in that car and it was trailing smoke, but it was also affecting the gear linkage of that car. So he was really slow through the twisty bits where they're changing gears a lot. It was hesitating out of the slow speed corners, and as he tried and pull the paddle to select another gear, it wouldn't engage. So it was just banging the car off the rev limiter, which was dropping him back to the field.
Oh no, drama!
Macris slows. The leader, the championship leader, limping out of turn 2. There's no drive in the Jam Motorsport.
He's got it. He's got it going again.
Oh, wow.
You could see it shudder when he finally was able to get it in gear. So I don't know if this is a gearbox-related problem. Oh, wow.
I wonder if this is a repeat of the gear selection issues he had yesterday. He said out of the slow corners, the car was hesitating. It wouldn't engage a gear. And that was
to go,
2.
Richard. 8 to go.
So this becomes a battle for the race lead. Mark Lauki defending from Peter Padden. There's nothing between them. What a turn up. And the job now for Macris, surely, if the car's got a race finish in it, he must surely just limp it home, grab some valuable championship points.
He's dropped to 11th. We'll follow that story for you. Cameron Vanderducken is in pit lane, so we'll try and get an update. Meantime, 0.3 of a second.
Well, for Cam, who'll be listening in, Aaron Steers, the team boss at Jam Motorsport, he'll be the one with the answers, if any. I'm sure Jason will have been on the radio communicating what's been going on in a calm and controlled manner. Possibly not. As the field rattles down to turn 1 again. 7 to go. And all of a sudden, we now have a really intense battle for the lead with Mark Lauki defending his position from Peter Padden. JP Drake up to 3rd. Braco and Hughes are having a really good scrap for 4th and 5th. And the number 80 car, that's Braco's, just got himself one position further up the field.
And the timing has just adjusted, so perhaps Macris not as far down as we thought a moment ago, but still wounded by whatever is wrong with that car. He sits, according to the timing, P8, and look at it limping. Look at it limping down the Brabham straight here, trying to get into the pit lane.
What a turn up. This was looking to be an enormous weekend for his championship. Jason Macris down the inside for the lead. Peter Padden, I said it'd have to be a bold move, and it was. Turn 6, he committed a long way out, dived down the inside. That was a terrific pass, and the Radical gets to the front. Now Lauki must stay as close as he can and use that straight line speed advantage down the straight to retake this position if he can.
Big lunge, dives deep, gets it done. So the question now in that whole ebb and flow is the way Lauki, as Richard has flagged here, can react. If he can stay close enough to him, use the advantage of this car, particularly here on the straight, Padden is going to have his hands full. This will be an epic battle for the remaining laps of this race.
And Padden immediately defends, dives across to the yellow line, right on the inside of the straight. Lauki hauling him in, car length after car length. Doesn't get by turn 2. A little bit of understeer through turn 1 because he was so close. And will he be close enough at turn 2? He's not. He needed to clear him before they got to that high-speed first corner. But he just got some aero understeer, Rusty. Big
That's been
push.
a hard starter, hasn't it?
Hasn't it just? Do you think he might have decided, no, do you know what? Second is all right.
Yeah.
Championship points. And in pit lane is Jason Macris. Here's Cam.
Yeah, he's lost voltage, guys. That's what they're... so that's obviously battery power there. There's an issue, maybe alternator related, but he's lost voltage. That's cost him this race.
We look at the damage to the 32 there.
Sue Hughes off the road. That's the exit of the turn 8 hairpin. Directly behind the pit lane complex here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Brings the field back around to the final complex of corners. 1 to go.
We saw Hughes there a moment ago in the 42. It didn't look that fast through turn 1 as we drift back and have a look at Macris in car 44. And the lap time from Hughes was down in the 1 minute 39. So I just hope that car's okay. He's 10th at the moment. We concentrate back on the race lead. This is second position at the moment. So Lauki looking like wrapping up a great weekend. He trails Padden by 3.7 seconds now. So Padden in the Radical with only a handful of corners left to go. Looks like taking the final one out for the weekend here.
Mark Lauki's gone in conservation mode, Rusty, so that gap's dropping. It's about a second a sector at the moment. So he's just going to settle for second and bring that car home. JP Drake, only 1.8 seconds to Braco in fourth place, so he's looking down the barrel of losing a podium here in the race. The round result may be different. He may still hold P3 on the podium overall for the weekend. But this has been hugely important for Mark Lauki. He's going to become the fourth different round winner from 4 rounds this year. And Peter Padden, what a drive. This will be one for the highlights reel, you'd think, in his career. The Sydney side has strung together a really nice 18-lap run here at Sydney Motorsport Park. He's going to come down the Brabham Straight and take out race 2, the Australian Prototype Series presented by Hot Wheels. The race goes the way of Peter Padden, but the championship contender Mark Lauki is back in the hunt, around victory to the way of the defending champion, car number 1. A really strong day. And JP Drake has been hauled in by the number 80 Radical right towards the end of this and just edges him out for third and fourth. But of course, with a 5-second penalty, will drop behind him in the final results.
We recap the results for you. It's a 5.2 second victory in the end for Peter Padden. Well done. The Radical getting the job done over Mark Lauki, who has, with that second position, wrapped up a great weekend here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Brilliant performance, and well done Paul Braco on debut in the Australian Prototype Series in the Radical. Just gets past JP Drake there, of course. Drake with a 5-second penalty for a start line infringement. Chris Sutton 5th and Carmelo Bonaventura in 6th place. Champion Claire, Philmeister and Hughes rounding out the top 10 in race 2, the Australian Prototype Series.
We need a break. When we return, we'll go racing for real right after this.